today. The mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers. And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Most of us know how to throw. But you need to know what to throw. I'm not talking about footballs, baseballs, softballs. We're talking about those items you need to recycle. Republic Services explains it easy. Recycling simplified. 1. Know what to throw. When in doubt, throw it out. 2. Empty, clean, and dry those materials. It takes an extra minute, but it makes a big difference. And 3. Don't bag it. This makes the recycling process faster and more efficient. This is a look at the Republic Services North Florida Recycling Center. You can make this process even more efficient. By utilizing those 3 steps, Republic Services can help you become a better recycler in your home. Learn more at recyclingsimplified.com.
If you look good, you feel good. And the medical professionals here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics are here to make you feel your best. I'm on camera every week, and I have a confession to make. I'm not always confident in my appearance. Can you see my dark circles? Is my makeup highlighting my fine lines instead of covering them up? I question it all. So when I found out about the wide variety of procedures here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics, I knew help was just one appointment away. Medical Director Dr. Megan Deacon Casey and her board-certified physicians have been using the latest in cutting-edge technology for the last 10 years, giving men and women their personal confidence boost. From Botox, fillers, Morpheus 8, and so much more. The hardest part was figuring out what I needed. Thankfully, the medical team walked me through what would work best for me through a free consultation. Come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
On today's edition of Club 904, we have nothing but a bunch of winners. Your Jacksonville Jaguars riding a 4-game win streak, 36-19, their 11th straight home victory over those Indianapolis Colts, who for whatever the reason just cannot win in Duval. To add insult to injury, we update you on the Daniel Jones injury, what that means for the landscape of the AFC South. We, of course, dive inside your Jaguars' dominating victory over their AFC South foes and what it means with 4 games left to play in the regular season. It's going to be a fun one. Bring your questions, bring your hot takes, bring your comments. Let's get after it on a post-game edition of Club 904. It is 9:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, which can mean only one thing. It's time for Club 904 on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 channel. I am your host, Mia O'Brien. Sports director Brent Martineau joining us here momentarily. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, X, Facebook, wherever it may be, we appreciate you joining the club here on a fine Sunday in Duval County, or how does Jameis Winston say it? Duval, or whatever he's saying these days. Shout out to Fox, by the way. Action Sports Jax, of course, CBS and Fox, for putting Jameis on the pregame show, because I genuinely enjoyed watching it. 216 of you already hanging out in the club between those various channels. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe to the Action Sports Jax various channels, especially over at Instagram. Noah and the boys are really cooking up some great stuff these days. Again, Brent will join us here momentarily, but we begin with a couple of stats, facts, and info. We'll add Brent once he comes on into the club to discuss some of these. Let's begin with this. Friend of the pod, friend of the show, JP Acosta. Thank you. Thank you for this. I think this is a good place to start as we break down what may go down as one of Trevor Lawrence's best games of his young career. Since the Jakobi Meyers trade, Trevor Lawrence is first in success rate in the National Football League. We'll have some other stats for you throughout the program. I have never seen in my 8 years covering this team, and perhaps those of you who are here in 2017 might point to the Marcel Darius trade, but I have never seen a midseason trade have such an impact on how an entire side of the ball, let alone an entire football team, operates, like this trade for Jakobi Meyers, who you will also hear from a little bit later in the program. And I think it just goes to show you truly what we are seeing out of this offense when they have a receiver who is willing to go over the middle of the field and certainly is able to create his own opportunities. As Brent Martineau joins us now. And Brent, let's bring you into a little bit of some stats and info. First and foremost, happy Sunday. Good to see you again.
Yeah,
I didn't see you couple of hours ago, but I want to begin with this stat and this note from our friend JP Acosta at CBS Sports, because I do think that if we're going to talk about the Jaguars' offensive success in this 36-19 victory, this is probably the best starting point, and that's despite the fact that Jakobi Meyers just three rushes for 9 yards, 4 catches for 39 yards and a touchdown. But it just feels like with that true possession receiver who can win over the middle of the field, allowing for Brian Thomas Jr. to truly be that vertical threat on the outside as opposed to where he was struggling on the in-breaking routes, it truly feels like we are seeing the passing offense we expected to see under Liam Cohen's tutelage.
Yeah, I think it's all kind of come together with the emergence of obviously Jakobi Meyers. And I think there are a couple other things here too, Brenton Strange and Parker Washington and his emergence. Now, Parker obviously not there today, but I mean, what does it look like when you even get him back out there too? And now some confidence with Brian Thomas Jr., confidence from Trevor Lawrence. But the domino effect is just unbelievable with Jakobi Meyers. I know we keep saying it and we don't really know other ways to describe it. The reality is it's there. And I just think what it's done to Trevor from a trust standpoint, and we already feel like that's there with Parker and Brenton too. And now maybe it's starting to develop a little bit more with Brian Thomas Jr. I think that last play down the left side of the field for Brian Thomas Jr., I think it was his last catch of the game that he almost dropped, was a big deal not to drop it, because you want that positive momentum to continue for him, that he feels as confident as he did a year ago. So yeah, this is I feel like I've been saying this for a long time. This is what it's supposed to be. Not the offense is supposed to look like 35 points all the time or whatever, but this is what happens when you have a new offense. This is what happens when you have a new system. This is what happens when you try to put new players around new coaches. The first half of the year is probably a bit clunky and as you're trying to work out things, but the second half of the year can look a little bit more like this. The thing I continue to bring up is I don't really feel like they've hit their ceiling on offense. I think it can be even better.
To that point, Brent, I agree. And yet I felt like this was such a ho-hum victory today. Did you feel that same way?
Well, I think it was ho-hum because of the defensive turnovers, right? I think it could have got muddy in a couple of spots for the Jags there. I mean, even Liam Coen at 28-13 going for it at his own 46-yard line. Like all of a sudden, with 18 minutes to go in the game, you're one stop in a Jonathan Taylor 46-yard run away from, wait a minute, on a rainy day. So, yeah, I mean, I guess after the Houston game, you're kind of always in the back of your mind now wondering, all right, you never know. But, I think they have, the Chargers game was businesslike. The Titans game was a penalty-filled, but dominating effort. This one was just, again, pretty workmanlike given the conditions and everything else, but it still doesn't feel all the time like it's really like humming like you got in the Chargers game, but that was a 200-yard run day. That's my point. Like, I don't feel like the passing game has just been boom, 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 dots all over the place. Look at Trevor, still 17 to 30, couple of drops. The wet ball certainly played a role, but it wasn't like 24 of 30 for 320 and doing it. And again, I'm not complaining about this. I'm just saying I feel like there's a little bit look at the headroom and look at the headroom in my shot, right?
Yeah.
Look at the headroom right there. There's a little bit more to go.
Well said, Brent. Let's get to some other facts and figures, because normally we don't do this with you on the program, but I feel like it kind of works for the sake of this argument. So 2 from our friend Gus Logue. So let me remove the banner so that you guys can see it fully and see the nice picture from our friend James Gilbert as well. So Trevor's best career games by total EPA. That's expected point average. 18.3. That is his highest in his career. That was in the 2022 victory over the Colts, the first victory under Doug Peterson's tutelage. 15.7. That was last year's win in London, perhaps a somewhat surprise because it was one of 4 victories on the year over the New England Patriots. And then 15.6. That was last year's Week 5 win, the first win of that same 2024 season over the Indianapolis Colts. And then today, again, over the Indianapolis Colts. I don't know what it is. I don't think you could put a finger on it either, Brent, why the Jaguars have had the Colts number over the last decade plus. But what I will tell you that I also take away from that stat and that graphic on second look, this idea of 2, rather 3 now after today, of Trevor's best performances of his career have come in the last 18 months. And that's somewhat surprising when you consider the up and down and everywhere in between nature of the 2023 and 2024 seasons for Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. And this season, in which perhaps in the first half of the season, he wasn't operating on all cylinders, maybe not grasping Liam Cohen's offense or not performing at peak efficiency like it appears he is today.
Yeah, I don't know what it says exactly either. I just know the Colts and the Titans he has been really good against. And I think that tells you a little bit about his competitive spirit, which not a lot of people talk about. And so I think that's where he elevates his game. Now, a little bit easier than Houston. This team doesn't play well against Houston. Trevor really hasn't played great against Houston either. Overall, not a lot of quarterbacks do play well against Houston the last few years, if we're being completely honest with that defense. So, but I do think it says a little something about him raising his level of play in the division games. I think that's a very good trend to start happening. At least 2 of the teams he plays very well against in the division. He'll try to have to figure out the other one throughout maybe his career. But even if you split in seasons, you're doing pretty well. If your quarterback's playing well in 5 out of the 6 games in your division. So I think there's a lot to like there. And I just also, I think, again, that's like he's got more juice than people give him credit for. He also is proving, at least at times at the end of the games and in big games, to really deliver. I almost thought about hyping this up a little more this week, and I chose not to because we've had so much discourse on Trevor. But to me, this game going into it, this is why you have Trevor Lawrence. Like you knew it was going to rain. You knew they had to stop Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, you can be physical and in the trenches. That's a big part of it. But at the end of the day, if you're really just boil it down to simplicity, you have Trevor Lawrence and they have Daniel Jones. And you're in first place in the AFC South. You're 8-4, and your guy's got to be better than their guy. And while we want to say that every week, it's probably not happening every week. But in this kind of moment in December, this is where it needs to happen. And I thought Trevor delivered just a real big-time performance. Statistically, it still won't be a Joe Burrow or whatever. It still was a big-time performance by Trevor Lawrence in a big spot. And I think that says a lot about the Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback. Better than those numbers, Mia, the fact that he's went 9-8 in 2022, 8-8, I guess, because he missed the one game and got him off to an 8-3 start before he got hurt in 23. Last year was a little bit of a lost year, but now 9 wins and counting this year. That's what you brought him here to do. And is there more ceiling again for Trevor? Absolutely. But he has changed the franchise a bit with winning seasons in 3 of the last 4 years.
Man, Brent, did you read my script? Did you read my stats and info for a little bit later in the show? Because we're on the same wavelength. From 2011 to 2020, folks, the Jaguars won 6 or more games one time. One time. That was in 2017. Since Trevor Lawrence arrived in his 5 seasons, they have now won 6+ games, 3 out of those 5 seasons, one of which was an injury-marred 2024, in which they did not win 6 or more games, and the other was when Urban Meyer was the head coach. So, point is, he may not be right now the number 1 quarterback in the National Football League, like so many believed he would be, the prince who was promised. But at the very least, he has raised the bar of what we define success as in Jacksonville, Florida. And that is a massive development, especially when said player is just 26 years old and still a whole heck of a lot to play for, especially Brent. Let's give one more shout out to our friend Gus. When you look at what has occurred in this 2025 season since his head coach, Liam Coen, told him to cut it loose and let it rip after that Week 10 loss to the that would have been Week 10 was to the Houston Texans. Since that loss to the Houston Texans, Trevor Lawrence is second in the NFL in passing touchdowns. He's second in ADOT, average depth of throw or target. 7.8% big time throw rate. That's second in the National Football League. 49 passing first downs is fourth. His PFF grade is fourth among all eligible quarterbacks. And his 8.1 yards per attempt is sixth among eligible quarterbacks. Does that sound like a top 10 quarterback? I know the Titans game is thrown in there. I know the Cardinals game was wacky, but that sounds pretty good to me, Brent.
Yeah, really, if you take away, and you can't just do this, but if you take away the 4 turnover game, the numbers would be really good, right? If you could just avoid that part of the equation. But it is 4-0 since that time, and that's the most important number. I think the big number for Trevor right now, and I looked this up earlier, but I think that 8.1 yards per attempt, his last 3 games, he's like 8.1, 8.1, or 8.3, 8.1, 8.1. That's 3 games in a row. You get above 8, that's like pretty elite, to be doing that. So that shows me the explosive part of the game is starting to come along. Remember, Brenton Strange had a few of those in the Arizona game. Now you get the 29 yards per catch from Brian Thomas Jr. today. And what I would argue is this is not really coincide with let it rip as much as it coincides with Jakobi Meyers.
Yes. Well, speaking of Jakobi, speaking of that Week 10 loss and everything that has transpired in the month since, shout out to our friend, sometimes co-host of this podcast, Daniel Griffiths. Also shout out to mutual friend Brett Coleman. I just love when Dan has an opportunity, or anyone in Duval has an opportunity to dunk on some of our friends in the national media. So back on October 22nd, this was after the Jaguars lost to the Rams in London, which, by the way, Brent, my dad texted me something similar to Brett Coleman in that he said, can you believe the team that got thumped by the Rams in London is now 9-4 and with a pretty sizable lead? We'll see what happens on Sunday Night Football, and we'll keep you guys abreast of what's occurring in Kansas City throughout the course of the program tonight. But can you believe that same team is in first place in the AFC South in the driver's seat with 4 games to play? And so to Dan's point, since the ballad of a bad team was on full display at Wembley Stadium in London, the Jags have averaged 30 points plus per contest and are 5-1. I think this whole notion, and Brent, you were in the presser before I got in there because I was still in the Jags locker room. I think this idea of, do the Jaguars feel disrespected or not, and are they feeding off that energy, is such a fascinating storyline, especially because the head coach brought it up, or I guess D-Rock brought it up as a question, and then Liam Coen leaned further into it. Because ironically and coincidentally, I was actually asking similar questions simultaneously in the locker room of, did that Texans loss do something to the psyche, especially of the defensive players, to where now in the third or fourth quarter, they are finding themselves giving a different message to each other to ensure they don't see a similar collapse. And so it's kind of funny that, those players were like, no, we just take it one play at a time, one game at a time. And in the other room, Liam Cohen's like, oh yeah, we know we're never going to get respect. And that game changed us. And now here we are.
Yeah, I've been saying for a couple of weeks, I thought that Houston game changed both teams, which you don't usually see. We might go back to, I've said right after when they beat the Chargers, because it was right after. Right after, I thought they might be done. But when they beat the Chargers, when you saw that change in the way they dominated and the way they bounced back, that was one where I started to say, hey, when we look up in 2 years, if this team's winning still, we are going to come back to this week right here and say that's when it all kind of changed in Jacksonville, how they responded from that moment. And I do think just a more smaller microcosm of it in this year, it's changed them. They won 4. Now, they also have played lesser competition overall, but it still could have gone south. I just think it's amazing that it helped both teams. It saved Houston's season, but it really changed who the Jaguars are so far this season and might continue to do so. We'll see where this year ends up. And one other thing about, say, even the Rams game, to what your dad texted you. Well, I think people do miss this about the Rams game, and they were probably never going to win that game. But they were in Rams territory 8 times in that football game. It was almost impossible to score 7 points only in that game. They moved the football. I think there were signs even there against the Rams that this offense was starting to come along. It just didn't show up in the scoreboard and certainly didn't feel that way in a 35-7 loss. But I think 8 possessions inside an opponent's territory is moving the ball. Then they just had to cash in. And that's why I think today was so important when you get the quick turnover. It's not like they just kicked a field goal in that spot. They actually cashed in. And big throw, by the way, from Trevor to Brian Thomas Jr. down to like the 7-yard line. That was a big play. When you take for granted, leads to the ETN touchdown. You get 7 points, and then the rest goes on and on.
I know Dan Griffiths is listening right now. So, Dan, if you want to dig up some red zone percentage numbers since week 10, since that weekly meeting, we would love to take a look at that, I think, on an upcoming episode here of Club 904, as well as the Brent and Austen Show, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. By the way, update from Kansas City. The Houston Texans just picked off Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Petrie, in his return out of the concussion protocol. I believe he's missed about a month or so, Brent. And so the Texans now in business around midfield. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about your Jaguars 36-19 victory. Just keeping an eye on what's going on out there in Missouri or maybe Kansas, whatever it is. I'm just kidding. Dell, the Trevor army is turning the tide in the Civil War, Brent. Just make note. Make note. Speaking of ongoing conflict, look, you never want to see any player get hurt. And all jokes aside, like, I feel for Daniel Jones. He clearly knew from the moment that he took that step back that something was wrong with the other leg, that he does not have the fractured fibula in, that there just wasn't something right with that Achilles. I talked to a couple of players in the locker room afterwards, and they said too, it was insane because Danny Strigow said to me, he's like, at first I thought Josh got to him and that's why he went down. And then I looked up at the Jumbotron and I went, oh my goodness, no one even was near him. And he just collapsed. And so I think everybody on the field knew that this was obviously some type of non-contact injury. It has been confirmed that it is a torn Achilles. Daniel Jones is out the rest of the year. Riley Leonard is the only quarterback currently active on the Colts 53-man roster. From NFL Nation of ESPN's Colts reporter Stephen Holder, he said it was the most dejected locker room experience I have had after a regular season game in my many years on this beat. Daniel Jones, beloved by his teammates. That was definitely a gut punch. Here's the reason I bring the locker room for the Colts up, though, Brent. This is from our friend Angela Morian, who joined us on Thursday's edition of Club 904. Kenny Moore referred to this as a dagger. And the fact that he explicitly said it's a dagger, I think he just means a dagger to the heart. But in many ways, this does feel like a dagger to the Colts season. And so now, look, the Jaguars are focused one game at a time. They're just focused on next week in the Jets. But I can't help but look at the rest of the landscape of the AFC coming off of this showdown for what was supposed to be for first place and wonder if the Colts truly are cooked the rest of the way.
Yeah, I thought this game would go a long way in saying that either way. And that's even if Daniel Jones was healthy, because you go to Seattle next week, then you have San Francisco, and then the Jags again, then Houston. I mean, it's a really hard schedule. And I don't think the Colts were fraudulent, but I don't think they were as good as their record indicated at 7-1. It was a lot of teams that were just okay, basically, that they were beaten up on, and they were doing a good job of that. We gave them credit when that was the case, but they got the early Jag schedule on the back end. And now you start adding injuries and everything else. And listen, DeForest Buckner, big injury today. Jags are able to run the football pretty efficiently. Sauce Gardner, big injury today. Brian Thomas Jr., able to have a nice day. So this will look a little bit different in Indianapolis, but what will that even mean at that point for Indianapolis specifically? Who knows? What will they even be playing for? So, it's a huge blow. For Daniel Jones, going to cost him a lot of money. For the Indianapolis Colts, going to put him in a weird spot once again. And another Achilles injury. I don't understand. Somebody's got to do some scientific research on all the Achilles injuries. I brought that up this week on the show. I don't know if it's training in sports or whatever else, but across sports, we are seeing way more Achilles injuries than I think any time in the history of professional sports.
Let's get Brent added into our one shot here. There he is. And Brent, on that same note, Angela brought it up on the show on Thursday for those who may have missed it. For Indianapolis, the fact that they just went through this with Tyrese Halliburton and then Sauce Gardner, the Achilles injury last week, he did not play in today's game. And now all of a sudden you have Daniel Jones actually with a ruptured Achilles. Sauce Gardner expected to return at some point this year, but you have to wonder if they will see him again, especially depending on how the next 2 weeks shake out prior to, I guess, 3 weeks, because their regular season finale is against the Houston Texans. And they got to play the Jags the second to last week of the season, and they got to play the Seahawks and the Rams the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, the Niners. Niners.
Or sorry, yes, the Seahawks and the Niners. Yes, it's Murderer's Row upcoming for the Indianapolis Colts. By the way, thank you, Robert, in the chat. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for keeping the questions going. We'll hit a couple of them towards Brent before we let him out of here and head on over to the TV side of things. But Robert says the Chiefs are now down 3 starting offensive linemen. Trent McDuffie is questionable to return, and they are down 10-0. They might be cooked as well. So, yeah, yikes.
Yeah, Houston, listen, I think Houston's dangerous. I know I'm in the minority here. I know everybody's been trying to get Patrick Mahomes out of the playoffs, and they feel better about it. I said this before this game. You could sign me up right now to play the Kansas City Chiefs instead of the Houston Texans in the playoffs. I don't want to see the Texans. Well, because here's the thing. There's 2 things. One, we know their defense is really good against anybody, but we also know the way the Jags play against them. We know the game is going to be just clunky and kind of gross and probably a 1-score game. And usually the Jags don't beat them. I mean, look at the history, right? I mean, we're seeing the same thing with Indianapolis. They do beat them. But, yeah, I know that sounds ridiculous, and I understand why it sounds ridiculous, but I've also been watching the Chiefs play all season. Like, they are just okay. And I don't think they have anything that really scares you. And I know this defense for Houston scares you. So who knows? I mean, whatever. Bring whoever on. But at the same time, I genuinely believe I think I'd rather play the Chiefs than the Texans.
Yeah, I would agree with that sentiment. And I think that it's crazy because we assumed the Chiefs dynasty would last forever. But now you look back last year and you say 10 one-possession victories. And now there has been a regression to the mean for Kansas City. In the same vein, in the YouTube chat right now on this show, Brent, there's a discussion about this Jaguars team in 2025, how sustainable it is, because back in 22, so many believed that product would be sustainable. Currently, the conversation ongoing between Thomas and Daniel and a couple of others is this idea of that was a team that was built off of free agents. This is a team that is built off a young core, many of whom have already been extended. What say you? Because it's something that I think I'm going to have to marinate on, and I still don't have a really good answer, even 6 hours, 5 hours after this one wrapped up. It's another team that has 9 wins on the ledger, but with an opportunity for more. And to your point, I don't think they've reached their ceiling yet.
The thing I like about the Jags roster, not just right now, but even down the road, is they are not heavily invested. They've got plenty of contracts, but they are not like megastar invested in terms of Trevor, yes, on the offense, and then Josh Hines-Allen, who really, quite frankly, now at $28 million is not megastar invested like a Micah Parsons. So you really have some flexibility. You have rookie deals with the receivers that now you can complement Jakobi Meyers maybe for whatever that costs. Your offensive line, you have 8-9 players. I don't know if they'll be able to keep Cole Van Landen, but they still have 7 or 8, 9 players in another draft to go. So they have a lot of flexibility, in my opinion, to do some things. And they already, like you said, have a pretty good core of players that are kind of approaching their prime. And, oh, by the way, they'll get Travis Hunter back next season too, which we don't even see that piece. And I do think we're going to get the best football we've seen on a consistent basis from Trevor Lawrence. I still believe that, not just toward the end of this year, but in 26 and 27 as well, as he becomes more of a veteran, and you keep this kind of continuity, we hope, right? Like, fingers crossed on that Liam Coen and company continue to get this thing done and grow it. So there's a lot to like about going forward, but there's also just a lot to like right now. It's a hot team that feels really good, that's confident, and overall, not bad on the health front. Not
No.
bad, because they will continue to kind of get guys back, then lose a guy for a game, and they've been able to manage that very well. So again, take a look at the offense today. 36 points with the help of the defense. But Parker Washington, I think, probably gets back in the fold as soon as next week. And now you can add another weapon there in the return game and also on offense. So again, a lot to like.
I know, D. Wade, you have a question about my comp that I love to make that I self-admitted stole from the Athletic Football Show with regards to the Matt Ryan, Kyle Shanahan marriage in Atlanta back in the day versus the Jaguars marriage of Liam Coen, Trevor Lawrence. We'll get to that after we send Brent off. But before we do, Brent, I know you already answered this on Twitter, but since we have more people in the chat that are clamoring, do you believe the Jaguars and the Broncos Sunday Night Football 2 weeks from now? Possibility?
No, it won't happen. Guaranteed to not happen, in my opinion, unless I'm wrong about this. The Broncos play on Christmas Day, so there's no way the league will shorten their window of rest even more by putting a game on Sunday Night Football and flexing that, or obviously on Monday. No way. You can't do it. So I don't think there's any chance, and I've noted that now for a few weeks. It just doesn't look plausible or even possible because of that Christmas Day game for the Denver Broncos.
I didn't even think about that, Brent, because the other two candidates, from what I've heard, that would be candidates would be, especially now in light of what occurred between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints today. In case you missed that, the Saints beat the Bucs. Hello. The Bucs. Yeah, the Bucs and the Panthers play. So there's a good chance that gets flexed, because that could be for the NFC South. And then there's also the Patriots and the Ravens, although with Baltimore losing today, be curious if that one is still up for consideration. All right, Brent, a lot occurred today. I know your brain is rolling like mush, but like a little hamster wheel, because you're a lot more on the ball than I am. What's coming up this week on Action Sports Jacks on here on the stream, as well as on the terrestrial television side tonight and throughout the week?
Yeah, we have a crazy week, actually, and not just because of the Jags, but now you start to ramp this up. We felt it last week. I think we'll feel it again this week with the electricity in Jacksonville. Jags Report live tomorrow night at Strings in Jacks Beach. We're planning to have Travon Walker, as long as he comes out of the game today okay. He should be our guest Thursday. We're working on some folks for Jaguars All Access. We'll have Brent and Austen show all week. And we've got Action Sports Jacks Primetime coming up actually in an hour on Fox 30, and all the reaction, really good reaction out of the locker room. You know, sometimes you just get whatever sound bites. I thought the sound was really good coming out of the locker room today on Trevor Lawrence, but also on the respect factor. So you'll hear a bunch of that 10:30 on Fox 30, 11:30 on CBS 47, and a little something different later this week. Well, we got high school football state championships. And then we also have Friday, we're doing an Army-Navy 1 hour pregame special at 7 o'clock live from Mayport, and working on a story. And I think it's a really cool story. I won't give up too much right now with Austen Lane, the Jaguars rookie out of the Naval Academy. A pretty neat local tie with him. So that's going to be on Friday at 7.
Hey, love it. That's the beauty of the stream. And then the television side, we've got you covered. Action Sports Jacks, every which way you turn. Appreciate it, Brent. Go get to the TV side of things. And we, of course, will see you, I believe, am I in the studio Tuesday? I don't know. It's Sunday. We'll figure out what day of the week it is.
We'll see you
tomorrow.
Tuesday.
I'll see you Tuesday either way here on the stream. Appreciate Brent hopping in on a Sunday postgame edition of Club 904. Before we take our next time out, I referenced this to Brent just now, and I want to play it in case you may have missed it. Liam Coen asked by our friend Michael DeRocco of ESPN's NFL Nation about the disrespect that your Jacksonville Jaguars receive.
I don't know if we'll ever really get it. So that's the beauty of it. It ain't coming. You know that. It's not. So, and that's the beauty of it. And that's totally fine. And, it's one of those things that I think the group right now, Houston was good for us. I do believe that. The end of Houston was good for us. And to know that each game is going to be a 60-minute football game, and our mindset and mentality has to be that way.
And so once again, I say to you, Jaguar fans, do not be burdened by what has been, but also recognize. And I would like to quote legendary Tennessee women's basketball coach Pat Summitt when I say this. Pat once said that if her team lost one game, she said this to Sally Jenkins of Sports Illustrated. She said, if her team lost one game, pretty good chance of winning a national title. If they won 2 regular season games in the first month and a half of the season, there was no question they were winning the national title. Now, granted, that's a team with a lot more pedigree than the Jacksonville Jaguars have had to speak up to this point. But the point stands. this idea of losing, while painful in the moment, and certainly the way the Jaguars lost to the Houston Texans in Houston at NRG Stadium was painful a month ago's time. However, it exposed to them, hey, maybe we need to do this differently. Hey, maybe we need to do this differently. Hey, I never want to have that taste in my mouth again. And so we have to change how we move. And the Jaguars have changed how they move. And it is a big reason why they find themselves 9-4 and in the driver's seat in the AFC South playoff race. Still a whole lot to do here on this postgame edition of Club 904. When we come back, you will hear from Jakobi Meyers. You will hear from Travon Walker. We'll also hit some more stats and info along the way throughout this postgame edition of Club 904. Thanks for joining us on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 channel.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Choose your own adventure. It's not just a saying, but a way of life here at Cycles of Jacksonville. And whether it's 2 wheels or 4 wheels, at Cycles of Jacksonville, a great adventure awaits. With brands like Honda, Vespa, Segway, and Triumph, Cycles of Jacksonville has you covered with their inventory featuring a 60,000 square foot building. If 4 wheels is more your thing, check out the largest selection of Honda Talons in the entire county. No matter what you're looking for, Cycles of Jacksonville is going to have the selection you need, all with great financing and rebates. Plus, if you're active duty military, Cycles of Jacksonville will offer you 0% financing along with great discounts for military and first responders. And when you want to get off the road and set sail, Cycles of Jacksonville has you covered with everything you need to get on the water. So if you're ready for a great adventure, let Cycles of Jacksonville be your guide. Located off Atlantic Boulevard, or check out their website at cyclesofjacksonville.com.
Nobody but Nimnicht. Our family has purchased 6 vehicles from Nimnicht Buick GMC. The #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville has lots of inventory to choose from with their best price guarantee. Who gives you top dollar for your trade? Nobody but Nimnicht. Save up to $10,000 off select new GMC Sierras or get rates as low as 1.9%. You know, I'm a truck guy. GMC Sierra, my trim level is an SLT. This one's an Elevation. Pretty good looking color as well. So here at Nimnicht Buick GMC, you have a lot to pick from. My father-in-law, he drives this, an Enclave, so I feel like that GMC in the family. 2025 is coming around the corner, which means it's almost time to close out those 2024s this summer. You can schedule a test drive at NimnichtBuickGMC.com. And while you're there, check your trade value and customize your payment options. Nimnicht is there for you, even on Sundays. So, who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? The answer's simple. Nobody but Nimnicht. Your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC. We are professional grade.
Welcome back into a Sunday post-game edition of Club 904. Appreciate the nearly 700 of you hanging out with us live. If you missed any of tonight's program, you can, of course, go back and listen to it on demand on the Action Sports Jax YouTube channel. I'm getting a request for more Trevor Lawrence stats, so I promise those stats and numbers are coming. They're all right here in the notebook. We're going to empty the notebook on Tuesday, though. Don't worry. But we will go through some stats and info here coming up in just a second. But if we're going to talk about Trevor Lawrence, I think it's equally important, once again, just like we led off the show with, to discuss the wide receiver who has seemingly changed the entire complexity of this offense, and that is one Jakobi Meyers. Here is the veteran wide receiver after the Jaguars' 36-19 victory over the Indianapolis Colts. Stunned me. It didn't even occur to me when you first were traded here. You didn't have a touchdown this year before you got to Jacksonville, and now it's 3 in 3 games.
Yeah, for sure.
Just describe what the last 3 weeks have been like for you.
a whirlwind, but it's been fun, man. It's been a whole lot of fun. Just learning the playbook, getting to know the guys. It's been great, honestly, and they've been looking after me. I've been trying to do my part in the field.
What did Trevor and Liam maybe identify when you first arrived as deficiencies, things the offense was looking to improve upon, and maybe have you improved upon? Has the offense as a collective improved upon those things?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I just know when I got here, they told me just be me. And so that's really all I'm trying to do is go out there and be myself every day, letting it rip, playing for my teammates, and just trying to get these wins for real.
Where would you rank? I know it's tough, and you're 3 weeks here, and I know it's been a whirlwind. Trevor, your connection today?
I feel like it was pretty good. I kind of let him down on that little strike route, but he's gonna keep getting better. Honestly, man, I really appreciate him as a quarterback. Man, he do a great job. So I'm just trying to keep helping him.
What have you seen from Brian over these last few weeks?
He's just he's talented. Man. He's just a hell of a player. He keeps getting better every day. I mean, I'm proud of the way he played today. We needed him. He was big, showed up big in big-time moments. There's really no ceiling on him, honestly.
To get a win like this in December against a team you were sharing the top spot in the AFC South, what does it mean?
That's big time, right? That's something we can keep building off of. We definitely moving in the right direction. It was a fun game out there, honestly, and I just think we can keep getting better.
You ever been a part of a streak that was 11 straight games in your career?
Nah, I actually don't think I have, honestly. So, yeah, we're going to keep trying to enjoy it. Yeah, for sure.
To get a win over the Colts the way you guys did, putting points on the scoreboard in the rain, I mean, this offense feels like it's kind of finding the strides late in the year.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, we left a lot of plays out there. I know me personally, there's some things I could have sure did better, but we just keep following in the right direction, right?
I know everybody always says you want to play your best ball late in the season. How hard is it to actually achieve that? Because you guys are effective doing it.
It's tough. It's a lot of work, a lot of walkthroughs, a lot of communication, tough practices, but we all excited about the opportunity. We'll keep going out there trying to put our best foot forward, for sure.
When you got here, you told us you were most excited to share the field with Tim Patrick.
Yeah.
Tell us about 17 today.
Was hooping, straight out hooping. But he the ultimate vet, man. Like he stayed ready. He helpful on the field. He willing to block. He just make big plays, man. That's what I've been seeing him do his whole career. So it's nothing new for me, honestly. I'm excited that he's doing it again.
I know when you first got here, they had you at X and Z. Have you kind of learned all three positions at this point, or?
Trying to. You know what I mean? I have some good days, definitely have some bad days too, but you don't keep falling for it, like I said.
What does it say about Tim? Because he obviously was able to play all three.
Like I said, ultimate vet. He could do it all. And he really showed that today.
Thank you to Jakobi Meyers for the time after the Jaguars' victory today. And look, again, it's kind of wild when you hear his stat line from today's game. Jakobi Meyers, again, did have 3 carries, has kind of become that new end-around jet sweep guy with no De'Ami Brown really seemingly involved in the offensive game plan. He didn't record a real catch or target. Yeah, he didn't record a catch or a target today, although he did get a jersey with Parker Washington inactive in this one. So Jakobi Meyers, 3 carries for 9 yards, but then just 4 catches for 39 yards and a touchdown. And yet, because of his mere presence, because teams have to account for him and the dirty work that he does over the middle of the field, it opens up Brian Thomas Jr. to the stat line of 3 catches for 87 yards. It gives an opportunity for Tim Patrick, who, again, can play all 3 wide receiver positions, as you just heard Jakobi say. 5 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown of his own. And yes, as we make our way to the stats and info portion of the program, Trevor Lawrence with a perfect 158.3 passer rating to Tim Patrick. It's not sexy names with Trevor Lawrence that immediately equate to offensive success. I know when he was in college, he had back then a healthy Justin Ross. Yes, he had T. Higgins for the first 2 years of his college career. But when you go back to that Heisman runner-up campaign, his final season in Clemson, South Carolina, I don't think any of those guys. I'd have to fact check it, but I can safely tell you at the very least in the wide receiver department, none of those dudes are still catching passes in the National Football League. And certainly the tight ends, none of them really have translated in terms of elite pass catchers in the National Football League. And so for whatever the reason, it's guys, especially in the middle of the field. And again, maybe this is a project for Dan Griffiths. I actually think he's working on this for Club 904 and Action News Jacks. There's something about Trevor Lawrence, this notion of, he doesn't see the middle of the field. And yet Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, now Jakobi Meyers, Brenton Strange, Parker Washington, the list goes on of receivers, pass catchers who have continued to have success from Trevor Lawrence, have had career years when paired with the quarterback, especially on those in-breaking routes. Brian Thomas Jr. maybe just isn't going to be one of them. It's not to say he's not a great wide receiver. It just, in terms of how he is used in the offensive game plan, is not going to be in the same vein that perhaps Liam Coen and company thought it would be when they first arrived in Jacksonville. And I saw someone make the note in the chat tonight, and I, of course, was at the game, so I didn't hear this on the broadcast, but apparently JJ Watt and Ian Eagle, friend of the program, noted that in their production meeting, Liam Coen stressed that during the bye week, he not only made the decision to say, I can't be with the defense as much. He was trying to be CEO. He needed to go hang out with the offense a little bit more and say, camp, defensive guys, you got it. I want you to know that I'm looking out for you, but I need to look at this offense and I need to reevaluate how we are putting players over plays, players in the best position to succeed. And so therefore, I think that's why you've seen Brian Thomas Jr.'s role in this offensive ecosystem dramatically shift. And then the acquisition of Jakobi Meyers, not to mention losing Travis Hunter for the season, shifted even further. But I think you are seeing the same Brian that you expected to see, maybe not as the quote unquote focal point of the offense, like Liam Coen said in his introductory press conference when he said that the offense would run through Brian Thomas Jr. in the same vein that Minnesota's offense runs through Justin Jefferson. But I do think he still has a very valuable role in this offense, so long as you do have that number one possession receiver over the middle of the field, as well as a bigger bodied possession receiver like Tim Patrick. Oh, and then also a guy like Parker Washington that can also play all three wide receiver positions. Some other stats and notes I want you guys to hear before we hear from Travon Walker, who made his return to the lineup after missing the last 2 weeks with that knee injury. Again, from 2011 to 2020, the Jaguars won 6 or more games just once, 2017. They have done so now 3 times in 5 years with Trevor Lawrence as their quarterback. One of those years that they did not was with Urban Meyer, and the other one, Trevor Lawrence only played in 9 games. From 2008 to 2024, the Jaguars won 10 games just once. That was in 2017. If they win next week, or just win once more in the next 4 weeks, and again, they play the New York Jets next week, who lost to the Miami Dolphins today. And I know everyone wants to write it off as a trap game. We've got a Tuesday and a Thursday program. We're going to dive into that matchup. But let me just say this. The Jaguars just have to win one more game in the next 4 in order to win 10 games for the second time in 17 years, since 2008. I was a freshman in high school. I don't know about you. Some of you probably weren't even born yet, which is a very, very scary thing. 2 more notes for you. From 2020 to 2021, the Jaguars had just 4 wins. 4 wins. One of those seasons, Trevor Lawrence wasn't here. You can't blame him for 2020. 2 of those 4 wins were over the Indianapolis Colts. Again, I don't want to talk Indian burial ground. I don't want to dance on the grave of the Indianapolis Colts season, which may be cooked now with Daniel Jones out for the season. But at the same time, it is just something that is inexplicable. I saw Jeremy Fowler of ESPN tweeting it. No one knows why this keeps happening, but it does. Let's end with this one. And I want to make sure I word this one perfectly for you guys, because this is a little bit inside baseball here. Through 3 separate trades, the Jaguars effectively traded Cam Robinson, Tyson Campbell, and a 7th round pick to the Cleveland Browns and Las Vegas Raiders, 3-team trade, in exchange for Jakobi Meyers and Greg Newsome. Would you do that trade again? Straight up? I know Jakobi was in Vegas, but you get where I'm getting at. Jakobi Meyers, for whatever the reason, has seemingly completely changed how the Jaguars offense runs. And what's crazy is, to that point I made earlier that Liam Coen mentioned in the production meeting to the CBS crew, they had their bye week prior to acquiring Jakobi Meyers. He was on the radar, but it wasn't a done deal. And Travis Hunter had not suffered that freak injury yet either. And so it's crazy to see where the Jaguars offense is, but it speaks to coaching and this ability to adapt when needed to. And that is something that we maybe haven't seen a lot around these parts over the last few years. Let's hear from Travon Walker. And after we hear from Travon, we'll take one more timeout. And then when we come back, we'll get to that live Q&A, last dance, all that fun stuff. But first, let's hear from the Jaguars' former number 1 overall pick, Travon Walker, after a 36-19 win over the Indianapolis Colts.
Big first play of the game, come out with a takeaway. That's definitely what you want. It set the tone for the whole game, and not only that, I just feel like the special teams component played a big role today too. The guys flying down, making plays, stopping before they got to the 30. I feel like that kind of led to that, and Devin picked it up first play, and I feel like that was another tone set as well.
Let's take it a step back further. When did you know you would be ready to play this weekend?
I always feel like I'm ready if you go ask me a question like that. But, I mean, I don't know. It was kind of closer to later in the week, earlier. Because I just started to fill it out, like, early in the week, and then we kind of had a little laid-back practice. So, I mean, I always feel like I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
What was the key in the run game today?
Just playing gap assignment ball. Everybody doing their job, nobody overdoing it, trying to peek in other gaps, doing things of that nature. Just everybody doing their 111.
Dewey said a couple weeks ago to the broadcast crew that camp took the menu from Cheesecake Factory to McDonald's. How have you seen maybe the menu, the plate change over the last few weeks, especially with you out of the lineup and now back to that?
Man, to me, the main thing that I take away from how it's been going is just keeping it simple for us. It's just letting us go out there and play our game, our style of football, and with that, I feel like that's going to make it a lot easier on your players to where they can go out there and play fast, be comfortable within the play call. So I feel like he's doing a great job of play calling, and he's knowing his personnel as well.
Just something as simple as see ball, go
That's
get
it.
ball.
That's it. Just play football. Do what we've been doing all year. There's nothing else spectacular. It's just
Every win counts as one, but does this feel a little bit different today, considering the stakes?
It felt different, obviously, being at home. Definitely, the fans, they came and they definitely showed up. But obviously, it's the division game. The Colts, they've been doing pretty good this season. But to come in and get a win, like you said, we treat every game the same, regardless of division or non-division. We just want to continuously peak at the right time of the season, and we just want to continue to elevate.
What's it say about maybe maturity or makeup of the team to meet the moment, though? I mean, it's a big moment. You've won 3 in a row, but in the elements against that team to do that.
That's big. Like you say, it's just a lot of people. As far as us in this locker room, we know the talent that we have. We know the staff. We have faith in the coaching staff as well, the positions that they put us in. So it's really not more so about. It's just about going out there doing what we're supposed to do at the end of the day. And with that, I feel like that's going to take us as far as we want to go. And that's all that matters. We look in the mirror every day and go from there. As long as we like the product that we see in the mirror, I feel like we'll be best product for the team that we can be. And I feel like that's how everybody that approaches it.
I asked Devin the same thing about the second half of games. Obviously, you guys have built a large lead these last few weeks, but comparatively, during this 4-game win streak in particular, has there been a different message of continuing to attack in the second half, maybe compared to the beginning of the year?
Most definitely. It's like we're not coming into a game just to win the game. We want to obviously dominate our opponent at any given time, any level. No matter if we have a lead going into the half, we want to come out and continuously that same momentum that we had going into halftime and just finishing out the game like that. You want to start fast and we want to finish fast. So it's not just about starting fast or just finishing fast. We're putting both together, and I feel like that's going to lead us a long way.
Thanks again to Travon. Quick timeout. When we come back, we'll do some live Q&A. So get those last-second questions into the chat, and we'll hit them when we return here on Club 904, a post-game edition on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 channel.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jax 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers. And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Most of us know how to throw. But you need to know what to throw. I'm not talking about footballs, baseballs, softballs. We're talking about those items you need to recycle. Republic Services explains it easy. Recycling simplified. 1. Know what to throw. When in doubt, throw it out. 2. Empty, clean, and dry those materials. It takes an extra minute, but it makes a big difference. And 3. Don't bag it. This makes the recycling process faster and more efficient. This is a look at the Republic Services North Florida Recycling Center. You can make this process even more efficient. By utilizing those 3 steps, Republic Services can help you become a better recycler in your home. Learn more at recyclingsimplified.com.
If you look good, you feel good. And the medical professionals here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics are here to make you feel your best. I'm on camera every week, and I have a confession to make. I'm not always confident in my appearance. Can you see my dark circles? Is my makeup highlighting my fine lines instead of covering them up? I question it all. So when I found out about the wide variety of procedures here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics, I knew help was just one appointment away. Medical Director Dr. Megan Deacon Casey and her board-certified physicians have been using the latest in cutting-edge technology for the last 10 years, giving men and women their personal confidence boost. From Botox, fillers, Morpheus 8, and so much more. The hardest part was figuring out what I needed. Thankfully, the medical team walked me through what would work best for me through a free consultation. Come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
5 minutes to go on this post-game edition of Club 904. Thanks for hanging out with us for a Week 14 edition. A lot of questions piling on in, and so we will tackle them here in these final 5 minutes. Again, we will be with you 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live Tuesday and Thursday. Appreciate you guys for rolling with the punches this past Thursday, that on-demand episode with Angela Morian of Wish TV because of some UNF duties for yours truly. Let's get after it. Gavin on Twitter wants to know, do you think an extension for Jakobi Meyers gets done before the end of the season? Gavin, I do not, just because I have been told that the price tag is going to be around $20 million per year. And I would think if I'm Jakobi Meyers' representation, if I'm listening to this podcast or quite frankly, just watching the game on the field, the price of the buck keeps going up because Jakobi Meyers is pretty darn important to the offensive operation in Jacksonville, Florida. And so I don't think a deal is going to get done in season. There certainly have been conversations of down the line what could potentially be worked out, but I do not believe any of that will be addressed because from what I've been told, this front office, while their feet are very firmly planted in the here and now, they are not looking ahead to the offseason. They're trying to make a playoff push here in 2025. A couple other questions. Someone asked about Travis Hunter's availability in the Super Bowl. Don't really have the answer on that one, but if I did, I would let you know. What I can tell you for those of you who are asking about, oh no, that's another note. Okay. That's about the Chris Godwin to Jakobi connection. Yes. The analogy that Rob made, we'll get to that here in just a second. What I can clarify for you, that's what I was going to say. Little big man, I think you got a little confused there. I said, yes. He says, remember Travis Hunter was out for the Raiders game. Jakobi was acquired after Las Vegas. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So the week before Las Vegas was the bye week. According to the CBS broadcast today, during that bye week, Travis Hunter is still healthy. Liam Coen says, we are revamping this offense. We're going to try to make it players over plays, focus on maximizing. Clearly, Brian Thomas Jr. in breaking routes, no bueno. Less De'Ami Brown, more Travis Hunter. Then Travis Hunter gets hurt 3 days before the game in Las Vegas. Yes, Jakobi Meyers at that point is not even a glimmer in their eyes, although they had certainly had conversations leading into that. And then you say, all right, well, now we got to make the deal for Jakobi. And also, we've already revamped this offense that was supposed to run through Travis. We're going to kind of have it run through Jakobi now. Adaptability. And it has been impressive to see, to say the least. And yes, to Rob's point in the chat, I do think that Liam Coen has his Chris Godwin. And I think that's why, yes, Trevor, King of the South, I think that it's not even a question. They need to try to find a way to sign him long-term because I do think that he is the quintessential Rams wide receiver, even if he never actually played for the Los Angeles Rams. Like the shout from Robert about how the Texans-Jaguars game in the AFC playoff picture would be played in Jacksonville because the Jags presumably would win the South. Well done, Robert. And to the point earlier in the program about the comp I keep making between Matt Ryan, Kyle Shanahan, that marriage in Atlanta, and now the Jaguars marriage between Liam Coen and Trevor Lawrence. This was from D. Wade. I know you discussed that comparison. Do you feel like Trevor is ahead of schedule in comparison to Matt Ryan that first year? It's different but similar because Matt Ryan obviously had more pelts on the wall. He had been to an NFC championship game, But at the same time, that's almost more difficult to say you need to change this, and this. Trevor is just 26 years old. I mean, he still is very much a malleable piece of clay for Liam Coen. And I think you're seeing that live out and play out in real time. We had Jeff Howe, the Athletics NFL insider, on a few weeks ago because of his connection with Liam Coen, that deeply personal story that he shared with him about his mother, and the story that Jeff told brilliantly. And Jeff said that he talks to people around the league, and the growing pains were expected from Trevor Lawrence in year one, and you're seeing that play out. He felt like Trevor was ahead of schedule. So I will just go based off Jeff, who's got a 10-year leg up on me in terms of covering the National Football League and age, and say that, yes, Trevor is ahead of schedule. I don't think he's ahead of schedule in terms of actual development, because I think Matt Ryan was a little bit closer to a finished product when Kyle Shanahan got a hold of him. But in terms of getting to where ultimately he needs to be, yeah, because he didn't develop the habits then Kyle Shanahan was trying to break Matt Ryan of Once Upon a Time, which Matt Ryan, very complimentary of Trevor Lawrence today, which is always good to see. Your last dance, because we're all out of time, 4,102. That is the number of days since Indianapolis last won in Duval County. We appreciate you hanging out with us here for this live Sunday post-game edition of Club 904. All episodes of Club 904 are available on demand on the Action Sports Jacks YouTube channel, as well as wherever you get your podcasts. It's Jets week, so you know that means I'm going to be tapping into all my old buddies up there in the Northeast to prepare you for another Jaguars home game next week. And if you enjoy a Sunday post-game, don't worry. We'll be back next week, same time, same place as well. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We will catch you on Tuesday.